Hey everyone! We're going to learn about a new symbol, American symbol this week. Does anyone know what it is by just looking at the cover? If you said the Liberty Bell, you are correct. We're going to learn all about the Liberty Bell. Now give us a quick check-in. Have you ever heard of the Liberty Bell before? Thumbs up if you have, or if you haven't, you can put your thumb down. That's okay. Maybe you haven't heard about it before. Well, we're going to learn all about it this week, and I'm so excited because it's got a pretty awesome story. You're going to hear so many facts about the Liberty Bell that I bet you probably didn't know. So listen for some good facts because we're going to be writing about them this week. The Liberty Bell. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Liberty Bell. I'm Clara, your tour guide at the Liberty Bell Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What is the Liberty Bell? The Liberty Bell is a famous symbol of freedom. The bell was made when Great Britain still ruled over the American colonies. In 1776, colonists rang the bell when they decided to break free of British rule. Are you wondering how the Liberty Bell got cracked? Keep reading to find out. Look at that. Boom, it's got a big crack. A call together. Early American settlers needed a way to announce important events. The best way was by ringing a bell. The toll of the bell would bring people to their town square to find out what was going on. In 1751, the people of the Pennsylvania colony ordered a large bell from Great Britain. They needed the bell for a government building in Philadelphia. The building was called the State House. The bell was tested after it arrived. The people in Philadelphia found that the bell was already cracked when it came. Holy moly. The State House later became known as Independence Hall. And that is where early U.S. leaders signed the Constitution. It's pretty cool. The one that made us free from Britain, so we could be our own country. Okay, so it's not the Liberty Bell yet. This bell arrived, and it already had a crack in it. So let's see what they did. The bell makers. John Pass and John Stowe were given the job of making a better bell. The men were founders. A founder is a person who makes things out of metal. Pass and Stowe melted the bell from Great Britain and added new metals to it. The Liberty Bell is made mostly of copper and tin. It also includes small amounts of other metals like lead, zinc, silver, gold, and nickel. So they added more metals into the mix. In March 1753, the colonists tested the new bell, but they didn't like the sound that it made when they rang it. Pass and Stowe melted the bell again. It was melted 2 times, friends. Isn't that crazy? And they made another new bell. Leaders in Philadelphia decided to keep Pass and Stowe's second bell, and that became the official State House bell. Holy moly. It was melted down 2 times. That is a pretty awesome fact. Ring of Freedom. The bell at the State House rang often. Its sound called citizens together for special events. On July 8, 1776, the bell rang to announce very important news. The bell's toll that day called people to hear the first reading of the Declaration of Independence. So guess what? The Liberty Bell was there to ring and to tell everyone that, yay, our Declaration of Independence was signed. That's when we became our country of the United States. Leaders from the 13 American colonies passed the Declaration of Independence on July 4th. And what do we celebrate on July 4th? The 4th of July, we're celebrating our freedom. We still celebrate it today. Keeping it safe. During the Revolutionary War, battles against the British broke out in Philadelphia. In 1777, the bell was moved to the village of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and hidden under the floor of a church. So they hid it under the floor of a church to keep it safe. When the British left Philadelphia in 1778, the bell was returned to the State House. From 1790 to 1800, Philadelphia was the capital of the United States. Now you're probably wondering, Miss Anderson, why was the bell hidden during the Revolutionary War? Well, let me tell you, right down here it says, many bells were hidden during the Revolutionary War. This prevented the British from melting them and using the metal to make weapons called cannons. So they didn't want this awesome Liberty Bell to be melted down again and made into a weapon. They wanted to keep the awesome bell, so they hid it underneath the floor of a church. Those are some awesome facts. Isn't that cool? Who named the bell? The Liberty Bell has a message of freedom written on it. On the bell it says, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land, unto all the inhabitants thereof." These words mean that all Americans should be free. In the 1830s, many people in the United States wanted to end slavery. These people believed Americans should be free no matter the color of their skin. They began using the bell as a symbol of their beliefs. Did you keep hearing symbol? They printed drawings of the bell in their newspapers and pamphlets. One such pamphlet included a poem called The Liberty Bell. The State House bell was soon known by this new name. The name Liberty Bell was first used in 1835. So before then, they used to call it the State Bell. Yeah, the State House bell. But now it's called the Liberty Bell. Liberty means freedom. A final ring. Each year, the bell rang out to celebrate the birthday of George Washington. He's the country's first president. He was born on February 22nd. On that date, Americans celebrated his birth and his great deeds. Something went wrong on Washington's birthday in 1846. People in Philadelphia rang the Liberty Bell many times that day. Finally, a strange sound came out. A small crack in the metal had grown longer. The bell would never ring loudly again. In 1852, the Liberty Bell was removed from the State House, and the bell was then put on display inside the building. So it's not up in the very top anymore. It's down in the building so everyone can see. The bell travels again. Slavery ended in the United States, and the Civil War had been won by the North, and all of the slaves were freed. Soon the Liberty Bell took on a new meaning. It was used to help bring people in the North and the South together again. The Liberty Bell was taken to cities across the country. It was displayed in New Orleans, Chicago, Atlanta, and other places. It helped all Americans remember the history they shared. The last time the Liberty Bell left Philadelphia was in 1915. The bell was taken to San Francisco for a display at a huge fair. And look how they had to make it travel. So heavy it was on a train. In 1976, the United States had its bicentennial. That meant 200 years had passed since the colonies broke free from Great Britain. So in 1976, the bell was 200 years old. A building called the Liberty Bell Pavilion was built for the celebration. The bell was taken out of the State House, which had become known as Independence Hall, and was hung in the new pavilion. The new building made it easier for crowds of people to see the bell. So it was taken out from up here down into here. Now it has its own little building. A new pavilion called the Liberty Bell Center was built in 2003, and this is where the bell is today. And people can go and see it. I wonder if any of you have seen it before. The Liberty Bell is part of the Independence National Historical Park. You can see the Liberty Bell anytime, day or night. It's enclosed in glass and is always visible. Goodbye and thank you for visiting. Holy moly, isn't that an awesome American symbol? Okay, so these books always like to tell us a little bit of some more facts in the back of the book. So let's see what this has to say. It says, Pennsylvania colony paid about $300 in today's dollars for the first state house bell. So the first bell that they got was $300. It's pretty interesting. The Liberty Bell has a yoke made of a special wood called slippery elm or American elm. The ball weighs 2,080 pounds. So you're probably wondering, a yolk? Isn't a yolk in an egg, Miss Anderson? Yes, but when you have a bell, you know, inside of the bell, for it to ring, it has to have a little ball that shakes back and forth that hits the side of the bell. That's called a yoke. Isn't that crazy? It weighs over 2,000 pounds. That is heavy. The bell's metal is 3 inches thick at the bottom of the bell. It's kind of thick. The bottom of the bell measures 12 feet around. So we could fit a couple of people inside of it. That's pretty cool. Awesome. So now we know a few facts about the Liberty Bell. I bet your teacher is going to ask you about some of those facts. So why don't you listen to what your teacher has to say, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.